Someone stole my tripod from home. And I'm not willing to spend another 5,000 rupees for new tripod. Okay? It was in my motorcycle at my home in the parking and somebody stole. Good morning. This is May the 13th, 12th, 14th, May the 14th, Wednesday, 2025. And we are in BBIS second semester compulsory English class. Last week, I had asked you to prepare a survey map of the essay, right? I said you copy the headings written in all capitals. They were the section headings. Let me bring a marker also with ink because I want to copy something over there also as I explain here. So I need a volunteer who would be there, and as I explain, you would draw an outline of the essay so that the class can see. Raise your hand if you want to volunteer. Nobody is willing to, right? Anybody who likes to come here and you help me as I explain, I'll guide you how to note and you will note down there. Nobody. Roll number 17. Who is 17? Okay, come. You know, it tells a lot about education. A teacher is, in our time, we always had the hand half raised. We took the teacher's assignment questions as a challenge. आज याद पहिले उठाएर बस्थ्यौँ हामी किन गर्ल्सहरूले पहिले उठाउँछ हमारा क्लासमा हामी बोयजहरूले गर्ल्सहरूले पहिला हात उठायो भने हाम्रो बेइज्जत हुन्छ हामी पहिले आधी उठाउने हामी अगाडि भन्ने हामी गर्छौँ भन्ने क्वेसन सोध्यो पहिले हात उठाउने के असाइनमेन्ट थियो पहिले हात उठाउने अब अहिले के छ you don't want to be here. Okay, keep the book there. I'll explain and I will tell you what to write. Write the heading first. Okay. And your job is you take that note you made last time, this note, this one, this note. Take out this one. Wherever you have made, take it out. You will verify the main ideas that you selected from what I explained. So the first paragraph, as you can see here, nothing, just write introduction. Write A, introduction. So the first paragraph begins by saying that today a lot of people are going from one culture to another culture. Para 1. Now move on to para 2. Please verify your main idea. In paragraph 2, the first sentence for me is not important. It's not the main idea. I said that the first sentence is main idea, but that's not always the case. Do nothing, just I'll ask you when to write. You can stay comfortably, you can sit on the chair also. Okay, second, about this essay plan. This essay presents brief account of the stranger's experiences in confronting the difficult task of adapting to a new cultural and communication system. This is the main idea. How many of you have this main idea? Raise your hand. Few only. Okay. How many of you wrote the first sentence as the main idea? How many of you wrote the last sentence as the main idea? Honestly, तिमीले कामै गरे हैन तिमीले कुनै पनि हाल्नु छैन कि त्यही भएर सोध्न आएको म तिमीले कामै गरेका छैन व्हाट्स योर नेम शुभमसी तिमीले कुनै पनि हाल्नु छैन त्यही भएर सोध्न आएको म तिमीले गरेका छ मैले प्याराग्राफ 4 देखि गरेको छु 4 देखि त्यही भएर छैन मैले हेरिरहेको छु कसले हाल्नु कुरो गरेर This is the main idea. Main idea means the idea that the paragraph develops or the idea that the paragraph supports. And to be able to filter the main idea, you must do a lot of reading. It comes from experience of reading. It does not come by teaching. I can't help you. You have to read a lot. And gradually as you read, you will feel that you are able to filter the main idea. Right? Third paragraph. Okay. In the third paragraph, for me, individuals move to another country for varied reasons, differing circumstances, and differing levels of commitment to the host society. This is the main idea. And you will see how we know this main idea. Look here. The word individuals move comes first here, right? In second sentence, if it's the second sentence, most immigrants plan to move. See, the same idea is repeated. Here is individual, here is immigrant. Same meaning. Now if you go to third sentence, sojourners, travelers, sojourner, immigrant, individual, it means the same thing. Now, because the three sentences have same word, people, people, people. So the sentence where people comes for the first time, that is the sentence which is the main idea of the paragraph. That's how we know. 4. Just tally your answer. Despite such differences in the degree of adaptive demands, most people in a foreign land begin life as strangers. People begin life as strangers. That's the main idea. Do you have this note in your copy? Okay. Number 5. The experience of acculturation and deculturation inevitably produce stress. That's all. Simply, acculturation and deculturation produce stress. What is acculturation? Learning new culture. What is deculturation? Unlearning your culture. Right? You can, oh yes, on the chair. I thought you were on the floor. Okay, number 6. Yet the stress, strangest experience, did we miss one heading? No. Yet the stress, strangest experience, paragraph 5 talked about stress. Acculturation, deculturation is equal to stress. Paragraph 6 takes that idea. Here the stress experience also works as the very impetus for the adaptation. Stress causes adaptation. That's my idea. 7. Stress then is part and parcel of strangers' adaptation and growth experience over time. Now do you see the idea of stress comes from in paragraph 5. Paragraph 5 says that strangers have stress. 6 says that stress leads to adaptation. And 7 uses one more word. See, there are 3 words. Stress, adaptation and growth. These are the key words. Because this whole essay is divided into 3 sections. Stress, adaptation and growth. 3 elements. So, first sentence is the main idea for me. And you know, the stress is explained here. Growth is explained here. Now there is something called growth dynamic. What is growth dynamic? Now you have noted the picture, I guess, right? picture, right? Pay attention very carefully. Stress and adaptation pull in opposite direction. That's why opposite arrows. Stress doesn't persuade you for adaptation normally. When you feel stress, you want to quit the country, right? They pull apart. Then, now you have stress. You have stress, and you try to adopt. When you move beyond this middle line, your attempt at adaptation. You have stress. You don't want to come back home from America, for example. You want to adopt. And when you try to adopt, again you have another stress regularly. And as you go through stress and adaptation, you grow. How do you grow? You grow as in the new culture. You grow in the new culture, right? So this figure is very important because it presents the main idea of the essay, main argument of the essay. Okay. Now right there, did we miss a heading? This should be number C. How come it is B? Wait a minute. You missed, I guess you missed a heading. Right there, B. And that heading, stress, adaptation and growth. B. Stress, adaptation and growth. Now write C. Now write C and copy this heading. Write C and copy this heading. Okay. The role of communication. So, section A was introduction, right? And I guess first and second paragraph only. From third paragraph, we have this heading, stress, adaptation and growth. So for an exam, you are preparing an exam, keep these points in your mind. That in this essay, the writer talks about this heading. At least you can do some, bluffing if you have no idea at least. But if you don't know the heading, you can't bluff. It's not good to bluff. I'm not encouraging you to bluff in the exam. But I mean, if you have the headings at least, you have something to aid to. Okay. Now paragraph 8, the second section, the role of communication in adaptation. You can write here, the role of communication in adapting to a new culture. Role of communication in adapting to a new culture. You can develop that heading. Okay, paragraph 8. Here is a term that is called differential adaptation rate. It's important concept now you have. Important concept. And there can be a question in the exam. Why different people adapt at different rate? That's what this section explains. What is differential adaptation rate? Now in a note, when I was making note, for example, in my note, look what I have written. Paragraph 8, right? I didn't copy the words exactly. So when I say filter the main idea, sometimes you can copy the words exactly, but often you should write the main idea without using the same words in the paragraph. Use your own words. For example, here it says differential adaptation rates and full stop. What I write? Different strangers adopt a new culture at different rate. That's the main idea. And in the exam you have a question of 4 marks. Why do different strangers adapt to a new culture at different rate? Explain in the exam. So that's the main idea. Now 9. How many of you copied the opening sentence as the main idea in paragraph 9? How many of you copied the opening sentence as the main idea? How many of you copied this sentence as the main idea? Okay. How many of you copied other sentence from the paragraph? Not first and second. Okay, let's read the whole paragraph quickly and see what went wrong. The fact that individual strangers differ in adaptation rate. So this opening sentence, this idea is from paragraph 8. Differing adaptation rate, paragraph 8, leads to the question, why do some strangers adapt faster than others? See, there are many techniques of developing a paragraph. There are many techniques of developing paragraph. One of them is, you can begin a paragraph with a question and answer the question. You can begin a paragraph with a question. Look here the question. Why do some strangers adapt faster than others? Or given the same length of time, why do some strangers attain a higher level of adaptation? So this paragraph begins with a question. But remember, this is not the main idea. This is not the main idea. Because this is the idea coming from paragraph 8. Now, this paragraph 9 takes an idea from 8 and questions why. The idea of differential adaptation rate is of paragraph 8. And paragraph 9 is questioning why this happens. Now read. To explain differential adaptive changes among individual strangers, we need to focus on the process in and through which such changes take place, that is, the communication process. Now I highlighted second sentence as main idea because it says that adaptation rate differs because of communication process. Adaptation rate differs because of communication process. And remember, in this section, which is titled as the role of communication. This section is titled the role of communication. And paragraph 9 says that adoption rate changes because of communication. Now, the idea of communication process will be developed further in the paragraphs as personal communication and social communication. Therefore, for me, this is the main idea. Now read the third sentence. Communication activities of encoding and decoding verbal and non-verbal information. Now look, why this sentence is not main idea? Why this third sentence, S1, S2, no, S2 and, oh no, S2, S3 and S4. Why sentence 4 cannot be main idea? Why sentence 3 must be main idea? Because the phrase communication process comes first in sentence 3. And in sentence 4 the word communication process is repeated. When the same word is repeated, then that sentence where the word comes for the first time, that must be the main idea sentence. Because that is where the idea of communication process starts being discussed. Now, I won't go in detail because some of you said you wrote these sentences as main idea. Paragraph 10. Keep in mind, the key to success in your life as a student at any level is your ability to read successfully. And your ability to read successfully depends on your ability to filter ideas as you read. If you cannot track ideas in a reading, you will fail. It's very important. It's like looking at a person and not knowing where to look. You all know that we should look on the face. That's how you know whether he is a friend or enemy. Where do you look at a person? You look on the face, right? If you don't know where to look, you will look here and you will not know the person. So a paragraph is like a person and the main idea is the face of the paragraph. You know about the paragraph through the main idea. Okay, paragraph 10. Strangers' communication activities. Look, paragraph 9, first in sentence 3, use the word communication process. In sentence 4, use the word communication activity. Communication process and activity are the same. It is the same thing. Communication process and activity is the same thing. Am I speaking too fast? Am I too fast? Please raise your hand if I am speaking too fast. Okay. Now, paragraph 10 takes up that sentence. Strangers' communication activities can be categorized into two basic inseparable dimensions: personal communication A, social communication B. Right? Now let's move to 11. Hello, assistant, write the heading. Now, because the personal communication is an idea developing from the role of communication, write here C1 and write the paragraph. Okay, personal communication. I won't go. Which 11, yes. Okay, it's a long paragraph, and I was reading, and I located this sentence as the main idea. How many of you have highlighted this sentence as the main idea? 9, 10, 11, right? Now, there is a difficulty here. It's not easy to identify main idea in this paragraph. And the reason is, read this paragraph. Personal communication refers to, when you read the word refers to, this is the definition. The paragraph defines personal communication. The paragraph defines personal communication, right? So the question is, shall we say the sentence that defines the concept is the main idea? Now read the next sentence. In Rubin's words, personal communication can be thought of. The second sentence also defines by bringing a source, making sense of and acting towards the object and people in one's milieu. It is the process by which the individual, so sentence 1, sentence 2, sentence 3, they all define the concept of personal communication. Now go to sentence 4. In the context of cross-cultural adaptation then, personal communication can be examined in terms of host communication competence, that is, the overall internal capacity of a stranger to decode and encode information in accordance with the communication practices of the host culture. Now, first 3 sentences define personal communication in a very broad way. But the fourth sentence defines personal communication in the context of cross-cultural adaptation. What does personal communication mean? When somebody is trying to adopt a new culture. Only sentence 4 tells that. So for me, sentence 4 also defines personal communication. Sentence 1, 2, 3 also define personal communication. But as a reader, I decide that the definition in sentence 4 is the most important thing in this paragraph. Because this is the definition in the context of adaptation to intercultural, another culture. So I highlighted this one. Raise your hand, how many of you selected this 4th sentence as the main idea sentence? Nobody. How many of you selected the first as main idea sentence? Look, so do you realize the rule I gave you, that most often the opening sentence is the main idea sentence? That doesn't work. So what do I mean here? To locate main idea, you need intelligence. You need intelligence. And that intelligence develops over time as you read more and more and more. Once upon a time, I was watching a short video clip of Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor is a very famous leader of Indian Congress Party in India. And Shashi Tharoor is well known for his extensive reading. Somebody asks him, why your language is so good? And Shashi Tharoor says, because I read a lot, and even today I read a lot, he says. So knowledge wisdom, vocabulary, grammar, everything depends on reading. In life, as a student, 99.9% things depend on your reading habit. So please read a lot. Yesterday, I read 83 pages of 2 books. One book I read 60 pages, got tired, began to feel bored. I closed the book, I opened another book. I read 22 pages. Right? My technique of reading is I don't read. I play the reading mode in PDF file. I use a headphone and the machine reads for me, software, and I move my eyes through the line. That way I can read very fast. That's a useful technique. You can do that. You can try somewhere. Open the PDF file, go to view option. In view there is reading option, and for example right here you can see here this one. Read. Now click activate reading, for example. Okay, now you have activated reading. Now read current page. The pronunciation is excellent. It's like native speaker. Okay. Now close. Stop. Paragraph 12. The many elements of host communication competence, from knowledge about the host language and the social norms to ability to manage interpersonal relationships and solve impending problems at work, can be grouped into 3 categories commonly employed, I go down, in the study of communication competence: cognitive. Now look in my note what I have written. It's a long paragraph, I mean long sentence, opening sentence. But look, I didn't copy the sentence. Look how I did. I wrote, you can see here, the elements of host communication competence can be grouped into 3 categories. I draw a line, 1, 2, 3, cognitive, affective, operational. Actually, you know, this is a visual note. Visual notes are more effective than verbal notes. Whatever you read, try to write that idea into picture. Write idea into picture. For example, I can draw a triangle like this for this paragraph. Right? And then I write here cognitive, I write here affective, I write here operational, and in the middle I write host communication competence. Now this is better note than these words, because the picture is always in the memory. That's why we call this graphic note. Learning to make graphic notes is a great skill as a university student. So always, whenever you read something and you want to note down, ask yourself, how can I convert this idea into a picture or image or a graph or something? Because our mind remembers images better than words. It remembers images better than words. Right? That's why if you go to words or even here, I guess, just a minute. No, we have in words. If you go to insert section and go to smart pictures, you will see such graphs. Okay, 12, right? Thirteen. Linguistic and cultural knowledge is accompanied by development of cognitive complexity. So here, now look, this is the main idea, right? I have highlighted, but in my note copy, I have also written this sentence. because I felt that as a student, I must understand the meaning of cognitive complexity. So I wrote this sentence plus this sentence. So main idea is linguistic and cultural knowledge is accompanied by development of cognitive complexity, which I connect the second sentence, which refers, I copy, which refers to the structural differentiation and integration in an individual's information processing capacity. So what is cognitive complexity? The structural differentiation and integration in an individual's information, what is, information processing capacity? Your ability to process information. How fast you understand something. Are you a tube light or are you a CFL lamp? Tube light, you switch on, it takes 10 seconds to turn on. CFL, you switch on, it lights. Are you CFL lamp or are you a tube light? It means, does it take you longer to process information? It's like the laptop. Some laptops boot in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. New laptops boot in 5 seconds. So how long does it take you to understand something? 1 minute or 1 second? If it takes 1 minute, you are not an intelligent child. If it takes you 5 seconds, you are intelligent child. Right? That is cognitive complexity. How fast you understand difficult concepts that somebody is saying to you. How fast you grasp my lesson. Right? Okay. 13. 14. Affective competence facilitates. Now look, we said there are 3: cognitive, affective, operational. So first, here they defined cognitive competence as ability to process information. What is cognitive competence? Your ability to process. To पछाडी कुनामा आड्लाएर बस न, त्यस्तो हुन्छ कि तिमी आड्लाएर बस्यौ अनि हाई गरिरहेछौ, अलि सर तिमीसँग गफ गर्छु, कुरा गर्छु। के नाम हो तिम्रो? जेनिन। मलाई फिडब्याक देऊ त। कुनै अफेन्स नलिकन के भएर निद्रा लाग्यो होला? एकदम ओपनली मेरो बारेमा पनि कमेन्ट गर्न सक्छौ। के भएर निद्रा लाग्यो होला? तिमी स्लिपी भइरहेछौ नि, हाई हाई गरिरहेछौ नि। ओके, एउटा मैले बोले गरे, अरू आड लगाएर। ओके, भनेपछि 50 मा 50 उनी आफै जिम्मेदार रहेछन्। उनले के भने, एउटा सर हजुरले लामोसँग बोल्नु भयो अघिबाट, त्यसले ला भने, अर्को के भने, म बस्दैन यसरी आलाएर बसेको छु भने। यो क्लास आज टिचर सेन्टर क्लास छ सुरुबाटै, त मैले बोल्नुको त विकल्प त छैन आज, होइन? मैले बोल्नुपर्छ। तिमीलाई त अस्ति मैले काम गराएँ नि त, होइन? अब यस्तो बेलामा चाहिँ आई एक्सपेक्ट that you try your best to pay attention. हो, बिहान छ, गर्मी छ, हाई लाग्छ, निद्रा लाग्छ, म पनि त्यहाँ बसेर तिमीले त्यो बेला निद्रा लाग्थ्यो होला, आई डु रियलाइज। तर अलिकति भित्रबाट इन्ट्रिन्जिक मोटिभेसन भयो भने निद्रा लाग्दैन कि? मैले पढ्नुपर्छ, मैले सुन्नुपर्छ भन्ने भयो भने लाग्दैन कि? तर केही गरौँ जसले निद्रा नलागोस्। निद्रा लाग्नु राम्रो होइन, लक्षण राम्रो होइन। क्लासमा कसैलाई पनि पढाइ भइरहेको बेलामा निद्रा लाग्नु राम्रो कुरा होइन। मेरो कारणले लाग्यो, फिडब्याक मलाई दिनु पर्यो। सर हजुरले अहिले यसरी ब्रेक गरिदिनु, केही गरौँ, आई थिङ्क अबाउट इट, राइट? तिम्रो कारणले लाग्यो, उसले रियलाइज गर्यो नि त, सर म यसरी सुतेको थिएँ त्यही भएर पनि हो, सिधा बस्यो, लाग्दैन। तपाईँको टाउको, ब्याकबोन, खुट्टा, यो यसरी बसेर लाग्दैन। तपाईँ प्रायः कसरी बस्नुहुन्छ? टाउको यसरी बस्नुहुन्छ। यो स्टडी पोजिसन होइन, यो रङ पोजिसन हो। तपाईँको चेयर गलत छ, तपाईँको चेयर खराब छ, पछाडि छ नि त अलिकति। जहिले पनि तपाईँको ब्रेन र तपाईँको ब्याकबोन एउटै लाइनमा भयो भने ब्रेनले छिटो बुझ्छ भनेको छ, साइन्सले पनि भन्छ, योगाले नि भन्छ। योगमा ब्रेन र यो स्पाइनल कर्ड एउटा लाइनमा हुनुपर्छ भन्छ, भनेको 90 डिग्री बस्नुपर्छ भन्छ। हामीले पढ्दा लाइफ लङ बिए पढ्ने बेलासम्म तपाईँलाई अचम्म लाग्ला, मेरो लाइफमा कुनै पनि चेयरमा पछाडि ब्याक सपोर्ट थिएन। युनिभर्सिटीमा मैले क्लास 1 देखि एमए पढ्ने बेलासम्म जति पनि चेयरमा बसेँ, none had a back support. अझ स्कुलमा त के थियो, स्टुल हुन्थ्यो बस्नलाई, चेयर हुँदैन थियो, चेयर दिँदैन थियो, यस्तो एउटा काठको फलेको हुन्थ्यो, चाडा खुट्टा हुन्थ्यो, त्यो साँगुरो हुन्थ्यो, त्यो बटक मात्रै बल्ल बल्ल अट्ने, त्यो पनि फुल्ली नअट्ने, अनि त्यहाँ अलिकति केयरलेस गऱ्यो कि लडिहाल्ने। त्यो हामी के गर्थ्यौँ, अलर्ट भएर बस्थ्यौँ, किनकि त्यो बस्न त्यसरी दिएको थियो हामीलाई। अहिले बल्ल बुझ्दैछु किन त्यो नेसेसरी थियो भनेर। उति बेला हामीलाई रिस उठ्थ्यो होइन, कलेजले यति पनि गर्दैन मलाई, अहिले बल्ल बुझ्दैछु कि द्याट वाज अ गुड थिङ तिमीहरूलाई देखेर। किनकि जति कम्फर्टेबल चिज दियो नि उति नै अल्छी लाग्छ। त्यही भएर विद्यार्थीले कम्फर्ट खोज्ने होइन, एफर्ट खोज्ने। विद्यार्थीले कम्फर्ट खोज्ने होइन, के खोज्ने हो, एफर्ट खोज्ने हो। डु नट लुक फर कम्फर्ट, लुक फर एफर्ट। सरी म धेरै बेर बोलेँ, म आज बोलिरहेको छु, मैले सुरुबाटै मैले आजको क्लासै म आफै भन्छु उहाँहरू भनेको। सुरुमा तपाईँलाई बोलाउँछु भन्ने थियो, अनि मनमा के भयो भने तपाईँलाई बोलाएर कसैलाई बोलाउँला राम्ररी भन्न सक्दैन कि भन्ने भयो, अनि म आफै भन्न लागेको। ओके, अघि फ्युनालाई भनेको थिएँ तिमी गर्छौ भनेको थिएँ, मैले गर्छु भनेको थिएँ, मैले बोलाइनँ, सुरुमा भनेको थिएँ मैले। ओके, अफेक्टिभ कम्पिटेसन। नाउ सेकेन्ड, अफेक्ट मिन्स फिलिङ एन्ड इमोसन। See, cognitive competence, ability to understand information. Affective competence, ability to understand feeling. I have this. म त्यहाँ उसले हाई गर्यो, त्यहाँ गएर कुरा गरेँ नि, आई क्लियरली रियलाइज म छ त्यो, मैले उसलाई ध्यान दिँदैन भने आई डोन्ट हेभ अफेक्टिभ कम्पिटेन्स। अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङ हाउ अदर पिपल फिल एज यु टक, understanding your own feeling as well as other people's feeling. So if you understand the feelings of other people, you will fast adapt to a new culture, right? Affective competence, right? It defines. What is that? Because it provides the emotional and aesthetic sensibilities that raise communication experience with the natives from a level that is merely technical. See the word, technical versus aesthetic. When you understand other people's feeling as you talk to them, they enjoy talking to you. They enjoy talking to you. 15. So 13 described cognitive ability, 14 described affective ability. Now operational competence is that enactment tendencies, this dimension of, okay, what is how to perform something, knowing how to perform something, how to sit, हैन जस्तै अहिले क्लासमा उसले पछाडि बस्यो नि, he does not have operational cognition, operational competence. He does not know, उसलाई मात्रै भने होइन सबैलाई भने हो, he does not know how to sit properly in class. As a result के भयो त टिचर रोक्यो क्लास, त्यहाँ गयो नेपालीमा बोल्यो, अब्जर्भ गर्यो, क्लासले हेर्यो, कति टाइम लाग्यो, 1 मिनट लाग्यो नि, ऊ प्रपरली बसायो, म केही बोल्ने थिइनँ नि, उसले पनि मान्यो सर म यसरी बसायो भने लाग्यो भन्ने कुरा मान्यो उसले, right? How knowing how to perform a communication, knowing how to perform communication, right? Okay, 15. Now 16. Now note down the heading. Now this is C1, now C2. Social communication. So personally you should have 3 things. Look, I taught you, right? Now I understand. You didn't teach, you don't understand. That's why teaching is the best method of understanding. Now I know. Personal communication means having 3 abilities. Ability to understand complex information quickly. Ability to understand your own and others' feelings quickly. Ability to perform tasks in the right manner. 3. Now social communication. Strangers' host communication competence is directly and reciprocally linked to their participation in the social communication activities, right? Now here is a new concept you should note down, understand, host communication competence. The paragraphs below, they will define this concept. One thing that you should pay attention to, let me put the mobile in silence mode. I don't know, it must be my mobile. How do you put it in silence mode? How do you put it in silence mode? Because it violates the class rule. How do you put it in silence mode? Okay. Thank you. (16), right? So now in your note copy or in your mind, you should keep this idea. Host communication competence, because the paragraphs below, they'll explain this idea. 17. Central to domain of social communication is interpersonal communication or direct face-to-face interaction in the context of interpersonal relationship. Now you should understand this concept, interpersonal communication, because it is in italicized. When something is in italics, it is emphasized, and you should note down, this is a concept. And I was saying, when you're reading these essays, the 3 essays we read this last couple of weeks, there are lots of concepts in these essays, and you should make a note of concepts and define them and understand them. Okay. Now 18. In addition to interpersonal communication, strangers' participation in the host and social communication process occurs as they are exposed to the mass communication activities. So here is a process term, host social communication process. Host social communication process means, if I go to America, host social communication process means how American people communicate. I'm a Nepali, I go to America. So for me, host social communication means how Americans communicate with another Americans, right, in the culture. And this has 2 parts. One, interpersonal communication. If I gradually know how to communicate with another another American, I will know host communication process. Host communication process you know in 2 ways. One, you know host communication process better by talking to somebody from that culture. Like she's American, I'm Nepali, I talk to her, so I have interpersonal communication. As I talk to her, I'll better know American culture. Second, you know host communication process by participating in communication activities. The more you talk, the more you read, the more you write, the more you communicate, right? So 2 things, interpersonal communication, second, communication activities. They aid to host communication process or competence, right? 19. The effect of mass communication on adaptation should be particularly significant during the initial phase of research. Look, mass communication, term 1, adaptation, term 2, third, initial phase of, when you have just gone to America, for example, Australia, the first week, first month, there is a lot of effect of mass communication, because you go to any places, you don't know how to communicate. The effect of mass communication is very strong on a person in beginning days, but as you spend time, 1 year, 2 years, you learn a lot. The effect is less. 19, now move to 20. Now note down. How do you note? This is the, yes, D. The role of the environment. The first heading was The first heading was role of communication. Role of communication, role of environment. Second is role of environment. See, role of communication and the role of environment. And under communication, you talked about personal communication and social communication. You also talked about cognitive abilities. Under personal communication, you talk about 3 abilities: cognitive ability, affective ability, and operational ability. Under social communication, you talked about host communication competence and interpersonal skills and communication activities. The role of environment now. Now here is the main idea sentence. New societies and communities present different environments for strangers, particularly in 3 key areas: host receptivity, host conformity and pressure, and ethnic group strength. Now these are 3 concepts now. Again, I told you, in these essays there are a lot of concepts. First, understand the concepts and write them and prepare for exam. Now we move to host receptivity. Put simply, what is host? Note down under that, D1. What is host receptivity? You are Americans, this is America, and I enter America from Nepal as a stranger. So you are the host, I am the guest. Now when I behave, do you approve my behavior or you look with surprise at me? If you look with surprise at me, I don't know how to behave. So host receptivity means, does the host culture accept your behavior or not? Right? Okay. Then, I won't go into paragraphs now. Host conformity pressure. Host receptivity means, does the host culture accept your behavior or not? Right? Second is host host conformity pressure. What is that? You must see the word CONFORM. It is not CONFIRM. Be very careful. Be very careful. It's not CONFIRM. It's conform, agree. Does my behavior agree with their behavior? Do I confirm their ways of life? Why am I putting on this dress? This is host conformity. Because I work in a private college, and private colleges have this culture of formal dressing. So when I come at LSEM, I get formally dressed. I put on tie. I put on formal coat, all that. Host conformity, because I want to make sure I confirm the culture at LSEM. I agree to the culture at LSEM. That's why when you go to some parties, they have party etiquette about dress. I've seen it at LSEM. When they have programs at some hotel somewhere, they write in the invitation card. They have a dress code. Look, citizen conform to host culture today, right now, for example. Did they object at the door, at the gate there? Nobody objected? Okay. So in this class, almost everybody is conforming to LSEM culture of dress. One of us is not conforming. Host conformity, right? Okay. Now, write this point. Okay, you have written ethnic group strength. Suppose you know ethnic group strength is, I'll give an example. I was in a school as a teacher, and there were 90% Nepal students. In the staff also, more than 80-85% Nepal teachers. And we 5-6 people, non-Nepal people. And in the break time or anywhere, all the Nepal teachers, they were from Kathmandu. They had one habit that had a problem for us. They always spoke in Nepali. And when they talked in Nepali, we didn't understand what they were saying. We felt They were doing a backbiting, will complain. And they said, "Hamro bhasha bolnu paryo ni ta, tapai afno Nepali bolnu na," they said. And we felt offended. I said, "Nepali ta rashtra bhasha ho, Nepali bolnu na public place ma." No, no, hami Temeri bolchhau. That is ethnic group strength. Now here, it's different. Because in our staff room here at LSEM, we don't have Neva teachers in majority. They are in minority. Non-Nevas are in majority. So we speak Nepali. Right? So if you go to America and you live in a place where there are, let's say, 100,000 Nepali people, you meet Nepali everywhere, then you will tend to speak Nepali. You won't learn English. Right? But if you go to America in a place where you are the only one Nepali, you will try to follow their culture. If you are in minority, you try to follow the culture of majority. If you are in majority, you try to follow your culture. Right? That is ethnic group strength. Okay, do you note down this thing? The role of predisposition. Disposition is face, personality. Predisposition is the personality you develop. So predisposition means characteristics of the person that affect adaptation. For example, do you have enthusiasm? Yes, you will adapt faster. Are you lazy? You will adapt slower. Do you have determination? You won't quit. You won't come back. You won't feel homesick. Right? For example, are you prepared? I had one friend, Mr. Panthi. He's a professor in America now. He went to America 20 years before. I would say that he would buy CDs every day. I said, "Ke ko CD kinnu bhayeko?" He said, "Movie haruko." "Ke movie?" "American movie." "Herनुहुन्छ?" "Herchu." I said, "What do you watch?" He says, "Aba America jana lageko अनि यो मुभीहरु हेरेन भने त अमेरिकन कल्चर थाहा हुँदैन, यो वेब सिरिजहरु टेलिभिजनहरु हेरेन भने अमेरिकन थाहा हुँदैन, अनि अमेरिकामा सबैले त्यो रेफरेन्स गरेर बोल्छ, हामी त लाटो भइन्छ। तर अमेरिका जाने हो भने हेर्नु पर्छ। Look, he was preparing about American culture. Because if you don't know about a culture, you will be dumb, right? Prepared. Are you prepared? Ethnicity. Are you minority, majority, or personality? What's the personality? Are you determined? Do you easily lose hope? So preparedness, right? How prepared you are. If you are quite prepared, you will adapt fast. If you are not prepared, it will take longer time. Personality. Are you open to new ideas? You will adapt fast. Are you conservative? You will adapt very slow. Are you strong? You will adapt fast. Right? Okay, write the last heading. Summary and integration. So tomorrow, Fiona will take 10-minute time and she will summarize the essay. And we'll move to next essay. What is the next essay? What is the next essay? I stop the camera here.